2022 at 6 p.m. Please rise for the national anthem. National anthem, national. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think I've been at too many sporting events when they start the national anthem. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bonzal?
Here.
Commissioner Hanley?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Stonehouse? Here. Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Here.
Mayor.
Commissioners, do we have a motion to excuse our mayor? Commissioner Hanley?
I move that we excuse Mayor from this meeting as he was unable to attend.
Have a second? Commissioner Smith?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Discussion? Okay. All those in favor say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed? Meeting, or the motion carries 6-0.
5-0.
5-0.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Announcements. Our next meeting is not the usual timing that we have at the last meeting of the month. It will be next Monday at December 19th. And just keep that in mind so that you're not here on the 26th of December. Oh, well, okay. Well, now we will move to approve the agenda. So commissioners, do I have a motion? Commissioner Bonzal?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. I move that we approve the agenda with one modification. I would ask that the item 4D, the DNR Spark Grant application, be moved from the consent agenda onto new business as item number 5. That other new business items be renumbered appropriately. And just as a point of information, that I believe that means that we will no longer require a roll call vote on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Smith?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Discussion?
I just was hoping that we could have a bit more discussion of the Spark Grant application, given that it's kind of a recent development. We haven't had a chance to talk about it much as the commission yet.
No additional discussion.
Okay. All in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. So the renumbering of that, you're removing 4D under the consent agenda. Under new business will be number 5, the DNR Spark Grant application. Number 6 will be the police labor union wages. And 7, the notice of intent of resolution. And 8 is a request to purchase the city-owned property. Okay. Let's move on to boards and committees. We have several appointments tonight, and I assume that we can take them all in one motion. So, okay, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to make a motion that we approve the appointments as listed. I will go ahead and read their names and their committee, and I'll leave off the term details. Those are on the cover sheet in the back if any is interested. George Patrick, Marquette Area Wastewater Treatment Advisory Board, Kevin Clegg, Planning Commission, Margaret Rayner, Planning Commission, Nathan Williams, Planning Commission, Nina Van Den, Presque Isle Park Advisory Committee, Hannah Milkey, Public Art Commission, Lance Larson, Public Art Commission, Richard Johnson, Traffic Parking Advisory Committee, and Barb Outside, Marquette County Transit Authority.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Commissioner Bonzal?
I'll second that motion, Your Honor.
Okay. Discussion?
I do, this I think may be the longest list of appointments I've seen in 5 years on the commission. So thank you to the public for stepping up. Really appreciate you serving on these important boards that will help move us forward, especially in a critical planning year here in the city of Marquette as we move forward on the master planning process.
Commissioner Bonzal?
I just wanted to first thank Commissioner Smith for modeling how to do those motions in a very efficient way. I think we can all learn from that based on past experience. And also just thank everyone who's volunteering to serve our city, especially people who I have had an opportunity to work with personally. I know, Nathan Williams and Nina Vandenend, and Hannah Milkey was a classmate of mine in high school, very talented artist. She'll do a great job in the art commission. Of course, Barb Outside is an obvious, choice for the Transit Authority, given her work on our traffic and parking board, which has been very active. So thank you to them and everybody else that volunteered to step forward.
Any further comments? Okay, all in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. And are any of those appointments here in the room this evening? Okay, thank you very much for stepping up and helping our city. Okay, let's move on to public comments. Public comments is now open. If you are wanting to make a public comment, please step forward and cite your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Pardon?
Can I give you a handout?
To the city clerk.
Should I wait until you get it, so you can follow along?
I'm sorry?
Should I wait until you get that, so you can follow along? Oh, you started my time, wait a minute. What do you mean? You didn't get your thing? Okay, I guess I will.
Name and address, please.
Oh, okay, yeah, thank you. James Gallant, Marquette County Suicide Prevention Coalition, and I'm here also representing the Marisa Community Wellness Task Force, which the city of Marquette is a member, with Commissioner Bonzel and Commissioner Smith. And my address is 538 Yalmer Road, Scandia, Michigan. You started before I was done here, wait a minute. Wait a minute. And you said thank you for modeling the motion, but remember, we're not going by Sally's rules, we're not going by Cody Mayor's rules, we're not going by anybody Evans, we're going by Robert's rules. It's the only approved parliamentary procedure that's available here. And I would ask you to get the, you remember you asked the city attorney about the ethics ordinance that I had filed a complaint from the floor, and I'd like to file another one. And it'd be you for going by Sally's rules, which is against the ethics. That's your personal opinion, and you're injecting it as the opinion of the city, which is not approved. And so if you could get that report from the city attorney on how to file that report, and because it was asked for by the former mayor. And also you have in front of you the report from that I submitted to the Community Wellness Task Force. And in there is a response to the task force from the Department of Community Health Director, Elizabeth Hertel, and from the Pathways Community Mental Health, which has now verified what I've been trying to verify for 15 years, which is not happening in Marquette County anywhere, including your health officer at the health department, in the schools, and all the mental health professionals, that they are not assessing for needs for legal services. That is not in the assessments. That is not in any nationally validated assessment tools, including the N31 program at the schools, Behavioral Health Works, because that's nationally validated because it doesn't address any legal issues. So this is driving the suicidal behavior in this community, and I would like you to think for 1 minute, the last minute of that kid's life before he killed himself in the bathroom of the school. This is what they were thinking about. And the writing on the wall is how you like him now. Not at all, because you didn't help him. And now all of a sudden it's another, and another, and another, and another. And please, we need the 63% of youth suicides are children from fatherless homes. These are the children that are affected by the friend of the court office. We need to address their needs for legal services and the denial of their parenting time, custody parenting time, alienation from their families that they don't live with, all of it. So please get that for your attorney to give a written legal opinion concerning this, or whether your health officer does this. And also, we get an unfortunate incident where you have a issue where you have trespass orders that are being handed out by your police department, and they're very respectful and they're very professional, except for, it's my understanding with Chief Grimes here, that this order, it's supposed to be an order, you get a notice. The orders are issued by the courts. And that order was never really vetted as to content informed by a city attorney, and that was produced by the prosecuting attorney 25 years ago. That must have been Gary Walker, and Ron Keefe slipped it in. So please refer that to because this is a campaign of abusive process against me, and I would ask you to do that, and if you don't, then that would be then you folks helping and colluding with the rest of them to not to get it looked at by the attorneys, in order that you can.
Your time is up, sir.
Apparently, there's been a bunch of these.
Thank you very much.
And please look into that for us. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
My name is Deanna Johnson. My address is 1550 Aspen Drive in Ishpeming. I'm here on behalf of Marquette County Habitat for Humanity. Good evening, city commissioners and staff. I am the director at Marquette County Habitat for Humanity, and I'm here tonight asking for your support for our Spring Street proposal. Habitat is truly a unique developer in our community. The way that Habitat brings friends, neighbors, and families together in partnership is the essence of home ownership, the essence of affordable housing, and really the essence of what we all love about Marquette and the surrounding community. The Habitat model is a hand up, not a hand out. Our partner families invest at least 250 sweat equity hours per adult in their project, and the cost of construction is passed on to the borrower. Any equity over and above the loan amount is protected in the mortgage with a gifted equity clause. Gifted equity is the difference between the loan amount and the value of the home and is forgiven incrementally over the life of the loan. The ability to have an affordable mortgage helps secure a strong financial foundation for partner families. With our proposal, 8 families would secure their futures right here in the city of Marquette and have the opportunity to stay in the community they love and likely work in. Habitat partner families also become tax-paying property owners. We estimate that upon completion, the 8 single-family houses would add $3,500 each to the tax roll, approximately $28,000 in combined annual revenue. Affordable housing is a complex, multifaceted issue, and we know how long and hard the Commission has been working on doing their part to address this. Moving forward with our proposal would be a very real, tangible, boots-on-the-ground way to bring affordable housing to the city. We believe there is a lot of support in our community for affordable housing and our organization, and anticipate many eager hands helping to raise the walls on these homes, including perhaps a City Commission volunteer day. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to hopefully working together on this project.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
Hi, folks. L.R. Swadley, 135 Hidden Springs, Marquette, Michigan. I'd like to just reserve time to speak at item 7 when it comes up, if that's all right.
Actually, you might want to do that right now because we don't have that separate time like we used to.
Okay. Well, I already blew 30 seconds there, Mayor. All right. I'm here to ask your support with the land, considering the land purchase, city-owned property for Habitat for Humanity. You know, Habitat for Humanity is an incredible organization. They've been around since, the local chapter's been around since the early 1990s. A group of us formed the first chapter here, and I believe you folks finished your 108th home since the inception of this chapter in Marquette County. And just, you folks talk a lot about supporting affordable or sustainable housing. This is your opportunity to do something tonight. And I'd encourage you to act on that. And it's very difficult to create any kind of housing in this price range and in just the reality today. And I would just encourage you to do that. And then also give them the best possible price, because every dollar that you add to that increases the cost to that family that's trying to make that new mortgage. So you really have an opportunity here, and I encourage you to help this organization out and do the right thing here. It's within your power. It's city-owned property. Let's put it back on the tax rolls and help these 8 families and participate as whatever level you can, and encouraging city staff to be as user-friendly with a project as possible. It won't be an easy project to get an infill site like that with 8 units and all the work that has to go on to get approvals and all. But I would just really encourage you folks to step up and do that tonight and help. So thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
Jeremy Ottaway, 443 Craig Street. As some of you know, I'm also the Downtown Development Authority chair, and wanted to first say I'm here for a couple reasons. First, to support our DDA director for her presentation this evening. She's obviously somewhat new to the DDA, and I wanted to be here to make sure I can answer any questions that she can't, if you guys have any, so I'm here for that. Second, I wanted to state the support for the Spring Street housing from the Habitat for Humanity. I think it ties really well to the DDA and our district, and really what's going on there to bring more housing stock close to downtown is pretty awesome. I think in making that affordable housing is just even more attractive. So that's something that the DDA 100% is in support of. And I think our director would explain that as well. Third, I just wanted to make the public aware of my candidacy and application for the vacant commission seat. And really just make myself available if anyone in the public has questions. But obviously, the commission and everyone else knows how to get a hold of me. So feel free if you do have any questions during that process. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Angela Rayhorn, 1025 2nd Street, Marquette. I came tonight because I saw Commissioner Bonzal's post about the Spring Street property, and I continue to appreciate his transparency in government, just getting it out on social media, which is unfortunately one of the easiest ways to find out about what's happening. And so he said, if anyone cares about affordable housing in Marquette, come tonight. So I did, and I just wanted to add my voice and say that this is something I care about. I'm a homeowner in Marquette, but I think a lot about the children I work with in school, and I think a lot about my own children and wanting to have home ownership be feasible and affordable for the average citizen for generations to come. And I know in Commissioner Bonzal's post, he talked about it being a relatively small project, but I love how he said that hopefully this could gain momentum to further along other projects. And sometimes I think when we see something happening and we see the fruits of that, it can really make a huge impact. And I have the tiniest bit of experience with Habitat for Humanity. When I was in a youth group, when I was 17, I helped build a house, and a member of my church was the one who was going to get it. And it was, at the time, impactful. I saw how important it was to them and how much it changed their living situation. As an adult, thinking back, it's even more impactful. And so for those 8 families, I just think this would be amazing. And I just wanted to share that.
Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
Tom Relsey, 1307 Picnic Rocks Drive, Marquette. I want to also support the Spring Street project. And I apologize for not knowing a lot of detail about it other than what I saw in the detailed agenda. But I wanted to put in a plug for this project and any others that the city might be considering, that consideration be given to a longer term future for the city of Marquette, and that would be to somehow encourage, incentivize sustainable housing development in terms of possibly solar power for that neighborhood, for each individual home, if that would be possible. And I know that something like that does add expense, but sometimes funds can be found for that sort of thing that would lend itself to a better long-term future locally and globally. So I just wanted to inject that thought process into this project and any others that the city might be considering. But again, my full support for the Habitat project. I'm really glad that that is the way this is proceeding. Thank you.
Anyone else care to address the commission?
Margaret Brum, 404 East Magnetic Street, speaking as a private citizen. 4 issues to bring to your attention. Number 1, I made another trip back to the piers to take a look at the window. I have a mop now in the back of my car that has no abrasion with it, so I don't have to get down on my hands and knees. And this was the day after the snowstorm, so there had been no shoveling on the piers, and I would like to know if that's going to continue throughout the winter, because my next issue was I kind of used the mop to push the snow off of the pier window and into the water, which didn't seem to be a problem, except I had been on the pier when there was no snow. This is me standing on the glass, perfect traction, no problem. But the day after the snowstorm, I didn't dare walk on the glass because it was extremely slippery. And I wanted to give a heads up to the city and who's ever responsible that the glass is like 1,000-fold more slippery in the winter than it was before the snow came. Secondly, every time I go to the glass window, I run into people, and the number one thing they ask me is, where's the closest restroom? So you've got a DNR Spark grant application here, and in there it's one ADA accessible restroom. If there's any nickel left over, please at least make it 4, because it would be easy to get to that building, and it was internal, so they didn't have to freeze into a porta-john. I think it would be more welcome. So if there's any way you can squeeze another restroom out of there, it would be well received by the public, who seems to be fixated on getting out of their vehicles, walking a short distance, and then looking for the restroom. Thirdly, in terms of the Spring Street development, I was gratified to see that the development for Habitat for Humanity was for 8 families in 4 duplexes in an area where it was not going to be tearing down an existing ecosystem. So I wholeheartedly support that, especially Habitat for Humanity showing some flexibility in going away from their single family model and going into a duplex model. That shows a great deal of flexibility in their thinking, and I want to encourage that. And fourthly, we have someone who went out to the island and on the sign for the new condominiums at the corner of Holly and Lakeshore Boulevard, spray painted over that sign the 2 letters NO. And I think this is indicative of public feeling. And it just takes one. I'm not advocating violence. I'm not advocating vandalism. I just wanted you to know that that project has not been embraced by the public. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
Good evening. My name is Antonio Adan, 111 East Barriga Avenue in Marquette. Just wanted to express my full support tonight for the 600 West Spring Street lot purchase. It's a very exciting project that I have seen some information online as well, and have seen what Habitat for Humanity has done in the past with respect to single-family homes. So I think this is a project that they, as an organization, can probably take on. It seems to be in their wheelhouse. And what's really exciting is that in the short 5 years I've lived here, this is probably the first project that is not shy about saying that it is for affordability. I think there can be a lot of red tape when it comes to projects that don't necessarily take off the way they may have been intended, but this one seems to be pretty transparent from start to finish. So I'm in full support of it, and yeah, I'm just very excited to see, and hopefully that it comes to fruition within, I think I read, about a year or so. Things can, labor markets are tight and projects can take a long time, but if we can get it done as a city, I think that would be a huge accomplishment for other projects to incentivize other developers out there as well, and also adding to our tax base. So just wanted to express my support and thank you all for the time. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Matt Ludenberger, 1406 Garfield Ave, here in the city of Marquette. First, I'd like to say thanks to all the public comments. This is really insightful to hear what other people might have to say about projects that are going on in town. It's always encouraging. What brings me up, though, tonight is I was thinking you had a list of 9 different names of people who wanted the empty seat. And so I wanted to give a few comments on that note. Everything that everybody said I agree with completely, so I'm not going to rehash anything there. What I was concerned about, though, is that it seems the city of Marquette in the last 10 years has filled the seat open 4 different times through appointment. And when Mayor Baldini passed away, it's appropriate to fill the seat as quickly as possible by appointment. But when somebody gets elected out of the seat, I think it should be more appropriate to have a special election. And no offense to anybody who's running, because you're all great citizens, and I have full confidence in everything that, no matter who you choose to take that seat. What I'm asking is, you, the 6 of you, have the ability to choose one of your friends. Choose somebody that you've worked with before. You can call it experience, you can call it companionship or cooperation. What I'm asking, though, is we, the citizens, don't have that ability to determine who sits on our seats. So you take away a big major part of what's a democracy. And all I'm asking, and no offense to Mr. Ottaway, he's done a great job, but please don't choose anybody that's been in that seat before or ran for that seat. I mean, I chose not to put my name on the ballot. I've failed 7 different times trying to get one of these seats. I'm not going to try an 8, 9, or 10 times. I'm done. I think at 50, my age, we become professionals at whatever we do. So we take our passion from the 30s, 40s, and we make it money. We make money off of it in our 50s, 60s, and 70s. So please, on the city commission, if there's only one voice, please bring the youngest person you can find, because the progression or the progressiveness of our city is evident. And I'm glad we have a very young commission. When I first started, our average age was somewhere around 64. Now it's a lot younger, and I appreciate it, because when you're younger, you have the passion to make mistakes. When we're older, like I said, we make it a profession. So if I'm going to wait, I've tried to put a science center in this town. So if I'm going to make a profession out of it, I can wait 3 or 4 years for a grant approval. But at 3 or 4 years, when you're 27 years old, that seems like a long time to wait, especially when you're only in here for 3 years. So please choose the youngest person, and that's my objection. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
Pete Fraser, 460 East Ridge, Marquette. Weird standing up here, we're using that side, but I agree. The Home Build Association is a great company. I mean, Habitat, the company I used to work for, did a lot of work with them. It's a good area. It's just basically brownfield area. There's not really much there. Some of the ice skaters might get upset about it because it used to be an ice skate rink once in a while, but they might not like it. But I think it's good for parcel to be used, maybe get something done. As far as the getting another person on the commission, I built this twice. But Sarah Kamedzi got elected to the city, downstate, and Mayor Baldini passed away. I think it's in the city charter. I don't know for sure, but I think it's the city charter what to do. And special elections are very expensive. I think that's why it's done like that, just the way it's done. And as far as the new pier, I was involved when that was built, and I think we agreed that it was not going to be taken care of in the winter, because obviously a pier is being on a lake my whole life. It's a dangerous place. There were storms and stuff like that. So that's up to DPW if they want to maintain it, but I think it's best just if they want to go out there and explore, it's fine, like she said, but I agree, best maybe not to, with the marina's all closed in the winter. And Fred, Mr. Commissioner Stonehouse knows this, all the marinas are closed during the winter for safety reasons. So I think it's best just to not shovel it, maybe nice day, but you never know with storms, stuff like that. We've already had a few accidents at, the island and stuff like that. So hopefully it'll get good, and I think we're doing a good job so far.
Anyone else wishing to address the commission? Anyone else? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. We will move on to our presentation. Tonight we have Downtown Development Authority, and we have Tara Lassie McKinney, our Executive Director, here to do a presentation.
I have to start this? Yeah. Okay. All right, well, thank you for having me here to do the annual presentation about the Marquette Downtown Development Authority. Just want to add, this also satisfies the second of 2 required public meetings based on Public Act 57 of 2018, requiring Downtown Development Authority to give 2 public presentations per year. So the mission of the Downtown Development Authority is basically to prevent deterioration and to promote to encourage tax growth and promote the businesses within the Downtown Development Authority, within the downtown area. Our fundamental goals are to increase property values, create and maintain a favorable business district and investment environment, ensure the sustainability of the district, to support downtown property owners, businesses, professionals, and residents. We have a very large district, as you can see. Overall, we have about 6.5 miles of sidewalks that we maintain. So it's a very, very large area. The DDA was established back in 1976. We got our first TIF back in '84. Our district was expanded in '92 to include Front Street, Barriga Avenue, and 5th through 7th Street on Washington Street. We had another development plan for our TIF development plan in '92 that went to 2013. But that was actually redone again for a more current one in 2011, which goes through 2036. And the district was also expanded in 2011 to include 3rd Street from Ridge up to Fair Avenue. We have about 327 businesses in the downtown, give or take 2,600 some employees and around 350 residents. We have a 9-member board, 8 of which are appointed by the City Commission, and with the 9th member being the city manager. So we have 2 coming up here for reappointment. We have 12 people on our staff. We have 6 full-time and 6 part-time people, all really great employees. They do a great job. All right, so our annual report on status of TIF and our development plan, number 3. Overall, for 2022, fiscal year, 2022, we had $1,581,000 and some change for total revenue. We have a bond reserve, which is basically our bond payment for the Bluff Street ramp of $146,000 and some change. And our total expenditures were $1,618,000 and some change. So our fiscal year 2022 revenue sources, you can see there the main source of revenue was our TIF at about 61%. Our parking revenues were about 26%, and then the rest were divided up through farmers market at 4%, and then some flow through promotions and sponsorships, and a 2% mill that we have on the district as well. And as far as our expenditures go, our capital projects and equipment was our largest expense at 30%, and then it went down to personnel, maintenance and operating expenses, a little bit less, bond principal and interest at 9%, and then we have our promotions and development, professional and contractual, and some flow-through funds as well. We also have our parking broke down a little bit more here. So our total parking revenue for 2022 was $404,000 and some change. And our actual parking expenditures were $906,000 and some change. It was a bit more than in the past few years. The majority of that coming from capital equipment and repairs, being the pay stations that were installed. Overall, you can see our changes in parking revenue have been going up. And this year, we did actually increase our parking revenues to $1, or our parking fees to $1 per hour. So you will see that there is an increase in fees there this year over last year. And 2022, for much of 2020, for much of that we had actually turned off of our pay stations and meters. So we did have an increase in this last year. So the DDA district assessed property values. So for 2022, our assessed value of the district was $47,371,403. So quite a bit, and you've seen there's been steady growth over the years since 1992 with our initial base year. All right, so now we'll get into some of the projects that we've done for in the downtown. Over 2022, we actually reinstituted our facade improvement grant program. So we set aside $30,000 in grant funds, which we were able to give to 7 property owners to make exterior facade improvements. They were Highbridge Group, Superior Aesthetics, Donkers, Evergreen Market, and Sage Stone Company. Those are the ones that actually got completed. We do have 2 more waiting to be completed. I think Loyalties is just about done. Ordock Brewing Company, we are waiting with them. They did get a much larger grant, so we were able to kind of assist them, and we're able to extend the deadline for them on that so that that can all be tied in together. But those 5 that have been completed, that leverage more than $80,000 in downtown investment. So it's been a really good return on our money there. And because of the success of this, we are bringing it back again for fiscal year 2023, and we'll have $50,000 in funds available for downtown building owners. So we also work with the MEDC and applying for Match on Main grants for business owners. We were able to assist Superior Culture in completing a Match on Main grant project. That $25,000 that they got from the MEDC was able to be invested in their business, along with private matching, to equal $43,634 in investment in that business. So they were able to do a really great project, which was redoing the upstairs of their building to expand their service area. It's really beautiful up there, so it was a really great project. We assisted Ordock Brewing Company with an extension on their Match on Main grant, so that will also be tied in with their larger grant, their larger RAP grant that they got as well. And we did apply for one for this fall. We should be hearing about that actually next week. All right, some of the other things that the DDA does is maintenance. In the summer, we do a lot of landscaping and lawn care. We do winter plowing, shoveling, sanding, and salting. So I'm sure you've seen our maintenance guys out there recently doing that. They do sweeping, trash removal, and cleaning, water flowers. They hang flags and other seasonal decorations. They put up the holiday green baskets, install holiday lights. They maintain the Marquette Commons, and they help with events and farmers market setup and tear down. They take care of the Bluff Street ramp and parking lot maintenance, pay station maintenance and collections, maintenance of elevators, stair towers, and pedestrian connectors, and they also implement special projects. So we'll get a little bit more into our parking systems. We have 7 parking lots plus the Bluff Street ramp, so that has 764 spaces. On-street parking spaces in our core downtown, being outside of 3rd Street, is 506 spaces. On-street parking on 3rd Street is 110 spaces, and our total parking spaces is 1,380 spots. So there's quite a few parking spaces in downtown. We have 38 pay stations. We also have the Passport parking app. We have a dual port electric vehicle charging station in the lower level of the Bluff Street ramp. So we have quite a few different fun electronic things to go along with our parking system. So in 2022, we installed 33 pay stations. We were able to simplify our zone systems, which goes along with our Passport parking app. So instead of having, I think we had 15 to 20 different parking zones, we now just have 3, so we were able to really simplify that. We converted the lower level of the Bluff Street ramp to 24-hour parking. There was a need for that, so we were able to make that match up. We were able to have a free 15-minute option in our Passport parking app now to make it a lot easier for people who are just running errands, and that matches what people would see at the pay station as well. And then we increased the hourly rate to $1 per hour. You know, it wasn't something that we were happy about doing, but unfortunately, you know, the cost of everything is going up. Our costs were going up, so we had to match that in kind. So our parking goals and initiatives for 2023, implementing a downtown business grant. So this is for downtown businesses who have part-time employees who might not be able to afford, or their employees may not be able to afford parking downtown, so we were able to offer a parking grant for those part-time employees, which we've just finished implementing, and we've had good feedback on that so far. We plan to add curb cuts for accessibility near on-street handicap parking spots and kind of rearrange where they are to better match the needs of people who might need accessible parking on street. We're going to continue exploring future paid parking on 3rd Street. We're going to keep working with the Vault project and their parking structure, and we're going to continue to develop an operating agreement. We're going to place additional signage for zone locations, which we've already started implementing, and we're going to keep promoting encourage people to use our Passport app. It's a lot easier to use than standing out in the cold using those pay stations. And how are those revenues used? They're used for snow removal, sidewalk clearing, parking lot maintenance, maintenance of elevators, stair towers, and the Bluff Street ramp, and for line striping and lighting of downtown parking lots. So another thing that we take care of is the downtown Marquette Farmers Market. So the Farmers Market, the Farmers Market ran from mid-May this year and will be finishing up next Saturday, the 17th. Overall, we've had quite a few vendors this year, 141 active vendors, so quite a bit more than last year. And so we've had a really good turnout. Our farmers market manager, Sarah Johnson, is great, and she's been doing a wonderful job with the market. So the market income for 2022 is pretty much right in line with last year's income, save for a few things. Unfortunately, this year we weren't able to get the sponsorships we had in the past. However, our overall vendor fees are right in line with where they were in 2021. Our community table fees are also very close in line where they were. We did get some donations this year in person, and last year we had merchandise sales. We did not have that this year. So for food assistance and vendor reimbursement, this year you can see we've had a huge increase in the amount of money we've been able to reimburse directly to our food producers. And the largest thing there on the end, that teal color, that is Food as Medicine. That's a newer food assistance that just got implemented this year, and it's a prescription type of food assistance. So that was very, very successful, and we're really hoping that that is able to come back next year. So for our events and promotions in 2022, we had Restaurant Week, Art Week that we participated with, Blueberry Festival, Music on 3rd. We had Classic Cars on 3rd, Downtown Trick or Treat, which we were able to shut down the 100 and 200 block of Washington this year for. And we had Ladies Night and our holiday parade and tree lighting. So 2022, we welcomed 8 new businesses. There's probably a few more than that. Sometimes they kind of sneak off the radar from us. There's a lot of small little offices and things up above businesses that we might not always find out, but we had quite a few businesses open up, and definitely more opened up than closed this year. So we were able to partner with a lot of different businesses, or excuse me, with a lot of different organizations this year. One of them is the Beautification Committee, They are a great partner, and we were able to work with them because one of the things that they were able to do, well, they weren't able to do this year, unfortunately, because of construction, was the petunia pandemonium that they normally do. So I got to talking with them and said, hey, since you don't have that, would you like to potentially look at planting some flowers and taking over the pocket park? And they graciously agreed to do that and did a wonderful job there. So they made that park just shine all summer long. And in kind, we were able to, offer them some donations and to help them with some fundraising at Blueberry Fest, things like that. So all in all, it was a really great partnership that we were able to work out with them. So for 2023, looking forward, our goals and objectives, we're going to pursue TIF district on the Third corridor. We're going to continue to collaborate on the vault project with the development team and the Marquette Brownfield. We're going to explore modifications to the Marquette Commons facility. We're going to look at placemaking initiatives to make that a really great place to for people to hang out, to be, and just overall make the facilities better for the farmers market. We're going to institute a social district for downtown Marquette. We're going to continue to seek grant funding for public improvement projects and to assist property owners with making property improvements and work towards a wayfinding signage program throughout the district. And that is all.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Hanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. First, I want to say that was a very informative piece you did there. It was very good. For anyone who didn't know what you guys do, they definitely do now. Second, I fully support the social district. I'm very happy that you guys are moving forward with that. I think it would be a great thing for the city to have that going on. Other than that, I don't have any questions. I think you answered everything.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
I just wanted to say thank you to Tara and to Jeremy for coming from the TDA and giving us an update on the happenings. I know we've been kind of keeping in touch on all these things, but it's good to hear an update and appreciate all the work you do. Thanks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Thank you for the update. Very much appreciated and helps us get inside, I guess, of the DDA and what you guys got moving. Question, though, is when do you expect to see the parking study completed for the vault or available?
We were able to have a preliminary, very rough draft a few months ago. I believe that was sent out to the commissioners as well. But until there is an operating agreement, everything is still kind of up in the air. So we can't fully have that parking information fully set in stone until their project is ready to go.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Bonzo? No? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I also want to thank you for a great presentation. Echo Commissioner Stonehouse's just note of curiosity. We're eagerly awaiting that parking study, and I think that it's going to be a very important decision for the DDA and this commission. What happens with that parking structure? I was looking at goal number 3 about providing a wide range of housing options in the downtown plan from 2020, and it seems like there's some good policy recommendations in there on top of recommendations made by the ad hoc housing committee for the city as a whole. So I appreciate that attention to that issue, and I'm just curious what efforts you see the DDA taking in the next year or so to be promoting a wide range of housing options, including affordable housing in our downtown district.
Sure. Well, we work very closely with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and there are definitely some programs out there that are available to building owners, business owners to do things like rehab, second story housing units, things like that. So, our goal is to work with those building owners and business owners to help them, utilize those incentives that the MEDC has. So anytime there's any businesses out there, we're going to be making sure that we are helping them get every opportunity to do things like that.
Great, thank you. I also like the idea of a social district. That was cool. I'm glad to see you mentioning that. You know, I appreciate your comments. I don't think I have anything specific other than that. I'm glad to see that we do have a lot more. We do have more businesses coming in than leaving. I was especially sad to see Aloha Grill leave, but that was so good. But some great new businesses coming in. So excited to see what the future holds, and it seems like you're all doing a great job.
Okay, thank you, Tara. I think we're very fortunate to have a very robust DDA. I have a few things, just comments. I'm very pleased to hear about the passport-free 15-minute option as we move into the winter and people don't have to struggle to find a pay station in the cold. The other thing I was very happy to hear is that the grant for the part-time employees downtown, I think that will very, very much help our businesses who are struggling to find those employees. So finally, I'm just wondering how often or do you survey your businesses for what they would like to see the DDA with the goals and objectives?
Oh, sure. Yep, so we have our business outreach and promotions person, Mike Bradford. He meets roughly roughly monthly with downtown businesses and discusses with them the things that they'd like to see, you know, happen within the downtown, brings up ideas, gets a lot of feedback from them that way. So we're able to do that. Also, periodically we do send out surveys as well. It's getting towards the end of the year. We'll probably be sending out another survey soon, just to see kind of how the year's gone for all the businesses and whatnot like that. So we do try to do that pretty regularly as well. Not everybody can meet, you know, in person when we have our those meetings. So being able to, you know, send out surveys to get more of a wide opinion from the downtown businesses is good as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you. You're done. Thank you. Okay, moving along, we have a public hearing regarding the rezoning parcel of NMU-owned property at 1000 Wright Street. And this is, we will open the public hearing. City Clerk, background, please.
The Planning Commission held a public hearing on November 1st, 2022 to consider rezoning a .22 acre parcel of land that is owned by Northern Michigan University and is adjacent to the Public Safety and Facilities Building at 1000 Wright Street. This parcel was part of a trade to assemble land for the Municipal Service Center, was previously city property, and is still zoned a municipal zoning district. During the update of the municipal property inventory earlier this year, the Community Development Department discovered this parcel needed to be rezoned to civic since it is owned by NMU and is requesting this zoning amendment. The Planning Commission, after conducting a public hearing, made the following motion. It was moved by S. Middlefelt, seconded by N. Williams, and carried 5-0 that after conducting a public hearing and review of the application and staff report for 06-REZ-11-22, the Planning Commission finds that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the Community Master Plan and meets the requirements of the Land Development Code, Section 54.1405, and hereby recommends that the City Commission approve 06-REZ-11-22 as presented. Under the procedures of Section 54.1405 of the Land Development Code, the City Commission, upon recommendation from the Planning Commission, has scheduled this public hearing to consider rezoning the parcel as part of the Civic Zoning District. Fiscal effect, none. Recommendation, following the public hearing, adopt Ordinance 717, rezoning the .22 acre parcel of Civic in accordance with Section 54.1405 of the Land Development Code. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
So the public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to address this rezoning issue, please step forward. Anyone wanting to address the rezoning for this issue, please step forward. Hearing none, public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, do we have a motion? Commissioner Stonehouse.
Your Honor, I motion to adopt Ordinance 717, rezoning the .22 acre parcel as civic in accordance with section 54.1405 of the Land Development Code.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Hanley,
I second that motion.
any discussion?
It is my understanding this is a minor, I guess I'll say procedural item to clean up something that should have been done 40 years ago.
Okay. Commissioner Hanley?
I agree that it's just protocol basically, and I'm here for it.
Any other commissioners? Okay, this is a roll call vote. City Clerk, would you please conduct the roll call vote?
Commissioner Bonzal,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanley,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Stonehouse,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. And moving along, we have a consent agenda. Commissioners, do we have a motion? Commissioner Bonzo?
Thank you, Your Honor. I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented and amended.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Smith?
I'll second the motion.
Commissioner Bonzo, any comment? Commissioner Smith? Other commissioners? All in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to new business, we have a new number 5, which is the DNR Spark Grant application. And let's begin. Do we have a motion for this particular new business item? Commissioner Hanley.
I move that we approve the resolution. Wait, do we need the background first?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Background.
Administered by the DNR, Michigan Sparks grants support projects that provide safe, accessible public recreation facilities and spaces to improve people's health, introduce new recreation experience, build an existing park infrastructure, and make it easier for people to enjoy both indoor and outdoor recreation. This grant opportunity is possible because of the Building Michigan Together plan signed in March of 2022, which included a historic infusion of federal funding in state and local parks. Community Services, in partnership with Superior Watershed Partnership, SWP, is proposing a grant application titled Transforming Vacant City Space into a Community Gateway and Regional Trailhead. If successful, the grant would create a paved path that connects the Father Marquette Park Trail system to the bike path, add an ADA accessible restroom within the vacant building formerly occupied by LSCP on the site, configuring the parking lot and improve stormwater management, provide an informational trail kiosk, providing a drinking fountain with bottle filler, and introduce some green infrastructure to the park in the form of bioswales, rain gardens, and native planting. The Parks and Recreation Master Plan outlines a downtown trailhead as a priority. This trailhead would serve the Iron Ore Heritage Trail, the Iron Bell Trail, the North Country Trail, the City Multi-Use Pathway, and the City Cultural Trail, while providing directions to other trail systems such as the NTN's North and South Trails. The grant amount would be $458,750 with an SWP match of $4,950, Innovate Smart Zone match of $5,000, and Michigan Native American Heritage Fund match of $5,000 for a total project cost of $473,700. Grant match is not required, but is welcomed by the program. There would be no cost to the city other than staff time. Fiscal effect? None with this action. Recommendation, approve the resolution authorizing the city's application for the DNR Spark Grant and authorize the city clerk to sign the resolution. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Commissioner Hanley, do you still wish to make that motion?
Sure. I move that we approve the resolution authorizing the city's application for the DNR Spark Grant and authorize the city clerk to sign the resolution.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
I second that motion, Your Honor.
Commissioner Hanley, any comments?
I would like to get a little bit more information from the city manager, possibly.
City manager, could you help us with this?
Certainly. Is there something in particular that you were looking for more information, or just kind of the background on how we got this?
I think a little bit more for, it was, I believe Evan the reason he pulled it was probably for the same reason. It was quite quickly coming on us. Even though it seems like a great thing, I would just like a little bit more background about how we came about.
You betcha.
Thank you.
So the DNR Spark grant actually is almost a very quick moving grant that was just introduced not too long ago with a very short turnaround time for that first window for grant funding and consideration. So what they're really looking for are some shovel-ready projects, and while our projects are planned and considered, most of the big projects that we're looking at for this type of grant program, we're not really there yet, or it doesn't fit within the parameters of this grant. So some of those things that we kind of discussed were, we looked at the band shell, maybe the bulkhead, the playground, and we have other sources of funding identified for one of those projects. Another one is also fully funded on its way, and then the bulkhead doesn't qualify. So really this one is looking at being able to utilize something that we've already been planning, such as some of those trails, cultural trail, so to say, and this is really a complement to the other existing trails that we have, while sticking to the mission of having some access points right there at the edge of town. The concept that we have here presented, and I will certainly kick it over to John Swenson here in a moment, really allows for some flexibility while addressing a need such as an ADA compliant bathroom at that trailhead or that area, and also building a trail that is accessible that leads down to Lakeshore Boulevard and having some access there. The connector to the existing trails come kind of the form of a crosswalk over to Lakeshore Boulevard from the one side to the other, which doesn't exist currently. It still allows for some flexibility for that building that we do own that is recently vacant, which we do not have any plans for future use or availability just yet, because it does need a significant amount of work that we don't have the budget or funding identified for yet. And this grant doesn't really address that, or doesn't qualify for that. So while yes, this seems as a surprise, this is something that needed to be moved rather quickly on, but we already had some of these plans ready. And John, do you have any other additional insider information on that? Did I cover that all?
Yeah, I would just, mention that, what a unique opportunity that we have here. So the city's front porch as we come into the city is right here with this really awesome park of Father Marquette Park and Lions Lake Slade Park. And so we have this space, and we've done some improvements to it. I would say that the ADA spur is sort of finishing the finishing touches on that, so the connection to the bike path. And then along with that unique location, we have all of these trail systems that go right by this park, which is phenomenal. So the Iron Bell Trail, the Iron Heritage Trail, the North Country Trail, our city's multi-use bike path. And so it's a unique spot, and this really provides the opportunity to improve that in a way that doesn't cost the city anything up front. The other thing I would say, regardless of whatever we decide to use that building for in the future, we did talk with LSCP, and they expressed, I guess, maybe a frustration that one of the things that always happened in that building was that people were coming in and asking to use the restrooms. It just kind of feels like a welcome center. And so I think that's always been the case there. And so adding restrooms, I believe one public commenter actually mentioned the piers as well, adds that to that opportunity for the visitors as they come in. And as far as the trailhead would go, I would say that the biggest priority as far as a trailhead would be to really sort of give a home and some identity to the cultural trail that we're building. So that would be the key piece, a way to make people aware of that as they come in. And the last thing I would say is that if you've ever tried to park in that parking lot, it's a kind of a hot mess. So this would kind of clean that up as well. So.
I think I'm good. I think that's all I really wanted was a little more, and you guys gave me a lot more, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
I would only comment further, Your Honor, that this really is a good example of the city forward planning, being ready to act when they had the opportunity to act. So the point to pull out of that is that how aggressive the city can be in trying to fund things with other people's money. In other words, to grant programs and be able to maximize those for the benefit of our citizens. And this is a great example of that. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I do have a couple questions about this proposal. I agree that it is a potentially exciting opportunity, but just from a process and planning standpoint, there are a couple of concerns that I have. I'm curious, has the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board had an opportunity to review this project prior to this meeting?
So we brought the Spark Grant to Parks and Rec Advisory Board last month, and this project was not at that time on the table. So it's really come together, pretty rapidly. They actually reviewed it tonight, so their meeting was congruent with this. So since the project came forward and the staff time was made available by Superior Watershed Partnership, this was their first opportunity to take a look at it. So they did take a look at it on their agenda tonight.
Okay, thanks. I understand that it's a quick turnaround, but, just looking back at our planning documents, it seems that, there would be other benefits, like having an ADA accessible restroom certainly would be a big plus for that area of our downtown. But, there's a lot of emphasis on making this like an urban trailhead or a downtown trailhead is the phrase that's used in the application and the background. Looking at, I was on the Parks and Rec Board when when the city was going through the process of creating our rec plan, and at that time the Marquette Commons was identified as the site for kind of a single unified urban trailhead, and that was also stated in the Trails Master Plan a couple of years earlier in 2017. That the Commons would really be the perfect location for a single unified trailhead. I'm just curious, why we seem to be sort of departing from that, especially without input from the Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
Yeah, what I can say on that would be that, ultimately the Commons, I think, can function in that way, and I think it does. I think there's a lot of commerce around that, and there's some infrastructure there for biking. It's also a really, really busy spot. It's also really hard to find parking there a lot of times. And there's a lot of stuff that as Ms. McKinney pointed out in her presentation tonight, that happens down there. So it can be sort of overwhelming and get lost in the weeds. So I think that going back to the cultural trail and having that identity and having that ability to really say, hey, this is what this is, and here's your opportunity to experience this trail. This is going to give it a little bit more color to that.
So you feel that this could tie in neatly with the cultural trail project that we have going on that we're seeking funding for as well. Okay. And then I guess this is just maybe the city manager already did a good job touching on this, but just to confirm, there's really not another major project. This is $400,000 or $500,000, like in that range. So we could do something like a new band shell maybe with that, or a project of that scale. There's nothing that either qualifies or is shovel ready at this time that we could have used these funds for instead, correct? It's kind of like a use it or lose it situation, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That makes me feel better about this. Obviously, I think it would have been ideal to have a bit more discussion, have a recommendation from the Parks and Rec Board, follow the normal process, but I understand why we had to depart from that normal process given the additional information, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any further comments? This requires a roll call vote, so City Clerk, please conduct the roll call.
Of course. Commissioner Bonzal?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanley?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Yes, the motion carries 5-0. Okay, we are going on to number 6 under new business, the police labor union wages. City Clerk, please read the background.
On November 29th, 2021, the City Commission approved a new 2-year agreement with the Marquette Professionals Police Association, Police Officers Association of Michigan. The agreement included a 2% wage increase for 1 year and a wage reopener in 2022. Through mediation, the parties have agreed upon a 3% wage increase for 2 years, 2022, retroactive to October 1st, 2022. Fiscal effect, a 3% increase retroactive to October 1st equates to a cost of roughly $62,300. This will require a budget amendment, excuse me. Recommendation, approve the Marquette Professionals Police Association's 3% wage increase effective October 1st, 2022. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Commissioners, we have a motion. Commissioner Smith.
I recommend we approve the Marquette Professional Police Association's 3% wage increase effective October 1, 2022.
Second, Commissioner Stonehouse.
Second, Your Honor.
And Commissioner Smith, the comments?
You know, I would just like to say that I certainly appreciate all that our police force does for us. I know we've had kind of a rough go financially these last few years. I'm hoping that we've got brighter days ahead. I would like to say more, but I'm going to choose not to, as this was resolved in mediation.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
I would only say that our police force is part of the reason that Marquette is such a special place to live. We deeply are thankful for their professionalism and the work they do for us every day. They truly are a thin blue line, Your Honor. Thank you.
Commissioners, other commissioners? Commissioner Bonzo?
Yeah, I just want to echo the gratitude that my comments shared for Marquette Police Department. You know, I grew up in a law enforcement family. My mom worked for the Marquette Police Department for many years, was involved in many such negotiations with the city over the years. And so I definitely, you know, see both sides of this issue, literally, right? I've lived that, been on the other end of that. So growing up in the family that I grew up in. So I definitely know all the sacrifices that people in our law enforcement community make, and I greatly appreciate their willingness to do a very, very difficult job for what I think by any reasonable definition is not adequate compensation, but I think that's probably the case in almost every community, and I think in this case we did the best that we could. So, thank you.
Commissioner Hill? Okay. Okay, let's call the question. All in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to number 7, notice of intent resolution. City Clerk, please read the background.
The Marquette City Commission approved an application for funding assistance for the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, SRF, on May 10th, 2020 for the wastewater plant solids handling project. On May 10th, 2021, the City Commission authorized a notice of intent to issue revenue bonds for the project for an amount not to exceed $8,500,000. The bid came in over budget, and it was decided to reapply for state funding and bid the project out in 2023. The city has received funding for a SRF loan for $11,715,000, which included 50% loan forgiveness. The city's bond council has suggested the City Commission authorize a notice of intent to issue an additional $6,800,000 in revenue bonds to fund the project. To move forward with issuing Clean Water State Revolving Fund bonds, a resolution must be approved that will authorize a notice of intent to be published. Fiscal effect, a debt service schedule will be produced when the bonds are issued. Recommendation, approve a notice of intent resolution to start the process of issuing additional Clean Water State Revolving Fund bonds for a not to exceed amount of $6,800,000 for the solids handling improvement project. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have a motion? Commissioner Hanley.
I move that we approve a notice of intent resolution to start the process of issuing additional Clean Water State Revolving Fund bonds for a not to exceed amount of $6,800,000 for the solids handling improvement project.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Stonehouse.
I will second that motion, Your Honor.
Thank you. Commissioner Hanley, comments?
Questions?
Questions could happen too.
So what did the bids come back at in the first place when we turned it down? Ballpark?
I'm going to invite Mark O'Neill to speak on that, but it was significantly higher. That would have had a direct impact on the rates, and then also we would not have the 50% match or loan forgiveness that we do have, and that's a critical part to this. So Mark, if you don't mind.
It was anticipated that the project cost would be 7 million, and the low bid was 8.8 million.
Okay. And now it's saying we're looking at a loan for 11.7 million, and we want to bond out an extra 6.8 million? How? I'm just
the
making
commission
sure.
approved 8.5 million
Yes.
for bonding. So the bond council basically said you should go with another 6.8 or whatever it was.
To get over
just to
the
make
11.
sure that we have
Gotcha.
enough to cover our bases.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Nothing's going to be spent without
Yep.
commission approvals.
Absolutely. Perfect. Now I understand. It's not an additional 6.8 on top of 11. It's 6.8 on top of 8.5.
Yes, exactly.
Makes way more sense. Perfect. All right. I'm good then.
No, Your Honor.
All right, I will call the question. I will call the question. All those in favor say yes. Oh, I'm sorry, this is a roll call vote. City Clerk, would you please conduct the roll call vote?
Traps.
Commissioner Bonzal,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanley,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Stonehouse,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Okay, moving on, we have a request to purchase city-owned property at 800 West Spring Street. City Clerk, please read the background.
The city issued a request for proposal on July 19th, 2022, based upon City Commission direction to seek missing middle housing at a higher density for the vacant city-owned parcel located at 600 West Spring Street. The city received one proposal from the Marquette County Habitat for Humanity showing the development of 6 duplexes that would provide 12 housing units to households between 30% and 60% of the poverty threshold in Marquette County that meets the Marquette County Habitat for Humanity requirements. The original proposal has been amended to 8 single-family homes as the city is unable to grant some aspects of the original proposal, ownership/maintenance of a newly created alley to 7th Street where access is not permitted. The City Commission is being asked to review this proposal and determine whether or not it meets their intent for the issuance of the RFP. If so, adoption of the provided resolution of intent to sell is required to begin negotiation. Fiscal effect, none by this action. Recommendation, review the proposal and consider the attached resolution. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you. Commissioners, do I have a motion? Commissioner Bonzal.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I move that we, excuse me, just finding the resolution here. My apologies. Thank you. I move the City of Marquette hereby authorizes the city manager to direct the sale of parcel 0240012, subject to the following. 1, the value of the parcel shall be determined in writing by a state certified or licensed real estate appraiser, and 2, the appraisal shall be at the cost of the purchaser.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Hanley.
I second that.
Okay, Commissioner Bonzal, comments?
Well, I'm very excited to see this proposal come forward to the City Commission. I think we have, as several folks stated during public comment at the beginning of the meeting, we have an opportunity tonight to make some tangible progress, some tangible short-term progress here on affordable housing in the community. This is genuinely affordable housing, right? Habitat, and please, correct me if I'm wrong later, but they serve families that make less than 80% of the area median income, which is the definition of low-income housing that's used by virtually all housing agencies and experts, as well as it was adopted in the community master plan per the recommendations of the Housing Committee. In June of 2022, we heard a presentation from city staff in which this was one of 4 city-owned properties identified as being suitable for higher density, missing middle housing development. The motion, or the amendment rather, that I made at a previous city commission meeting specifically required that this development proposal be, quote, higher density, and also for low income or workforce housing as defined in Appendix K of the Community Master Plan, which is basically just the ad hoc housing committee report. Certainly this project meets in my view, the affordability requirement. And also, I think we're intentionally vague about our definition of higher density. At the time, I would have been happy to provide a more detailed definition of that in my motion, but I did not feel that there was necessarily sufficient commission support to be that prescriptive at the time. And this is going to be a higher density development than the average density of residential development in the city of Marquette as a whole. So I think it could be a very positive project, and I sincerely hope that we move forward with it, and that this can also be an impetus for near future conversations by the commission on where we can do the same sort of process on some other developable city-owned properties.
Thank you. Commissioner Hanley?
Thank you. I also would like to second most of the things that Evan has said here, or Commissioner Bonzal has said. I am very excited at the prospect of working with Habitat. They have shown tangible evidence of building homes and their process. We know how they work. It is a very open process with them, which I love. I think it could be great going forward. I would have loved to see more high density there, but at the same point, I am of the beggars cannot be choosers, and we need housing now in Marquette, and this is housing now. So I am absolutely for this, and I hope that everyone else is as well. Thank you.
Other commissioners? Well, Commissioner Stonehouse.
Well, just a question, I guess, of legality. I'm not certain that the motion that was made is actually a legal motion in terms of what the intention of the commission may be, as it was created on the fly. So my question would be, is that a legal motion from the attorney,
City Attorney?
or is somebody?
So my understanding, and I guess clerk, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that the motion was to authorize the resolution. Is that correct? Or authorize the language of the resolution?
Yes, I was reading the language directly from the intent to, the be it therefore resolved clause of the intent to sell resolution.
So I guess I would suggest that your motion be to adopt the resolution and authorize staff to carry it out, basically.
All right.
So it's a small semantic, but rather than just authorizing the language of it, I would actually move to authorize the resolution itself.
So because we have a motion and a second on the floor, how would you like us to proceed?
So I would, someone could move to amend the motion. And then it could be seconded. That movement, the motion to amend could be then approved, and then you could vote on the underlying motion.
So we would need two votes. So Commissioner Stonehouse, would you care
I'd
to?
be happy to move the motion to be the proclamation.
Would you like to read?
To be the resolution. We're getting deep in here.
Who approves the resolution as recommended by the city attorney?
Do you mind
Yes,
if,
that's the motion.
would that be your motion, Commissioner Smith?
It's Commissioner Stonehouse.
Commissioner Smith.
I would
I'm looking
make
at
that
clerk.
motion.
She got it all.
That would be fine.
The motion would be to adopt the resolution of intent to sell and authorize the city manager to negotiate terms for the potential sale of the property.
Thank you, City Clerk. And do we have a second?
That would be, I'll second that.
You can't
No,
second
no,
it.
no. Commissioner Smith.
I will second that motion.
Okay, any discussion on the amendment? Okay, all in favor, say yes.
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 All opposed? Okay, motion
That's for the
carries
second.
5-0. So now that's the amendment. So now the motion that is on the floor is what?
So the motion on the floor at this point is the amended motion, which the clerk, if you'd like, could read back to you.
Thank you.
The amended motion is adopt the resolution of intent to sell and authorize the city manager to negotiate terms for the potential sale of the property.
Okay. So do we have any further discussion?
No.
Mayor Smith, Commissioner Smith.
Just that I'm excited about the potential of this project, working with Habitat for Humanity in an official capacity, and I'm It's really good to have a win on the affordable housing front, so thank you.
Any further comments? Yes, Commissioner Bonzo?
Sorry about the confusion. I just got all excited, so.
That's okay, it's kind of fun. Okay, any other comments? Okay, I'm going to call the question. This is a roll call vote. So City Clerk, would you conduct the roll call vote?
Commissioner Bonzo?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanley?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Yes, the motion carries 5-0. So we're going to move on to public comments. Anyone who wishes to address the commission, please step forward, provide your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Did you change the rule about I already said my public comment, so I don't have to say it again, or is that just a Sally's rule thing?
It's a Sally's
James
rule.
Gallant, is that okay? Do I get to say it again? Am I, no, whatever. James Gallant, Scandia. I guess to recap, yes, thank you for modeling the new motions that go on and how it works, but it's nothing but shenanigans. I hereby call shenanigans, and like I'd like to say that I'd like to file another ethics complaint against the ordinance that says you just made it up with all your opinion. That's not Robert's Rules of Order is the opinion of the city. That's the rules. Just go by it. Just start going by it. You just did that. You assigned the floor, and then turned right around and she knew what you was going to make. You gave him the motion. It's as if you already, I don't know why you do that other than you're just modeling on rules. And it's just normalizing it. It just makes no sense. So you can make it up on the fly, which was wholly what he just said. And which, of course, is now in 3 more, I believe this is in the charter. It says that you can't, no reappointments, right? You have to do appointments again. You have to take applications again, right? So you just did that. 2 of these are unexpired term till February, and then another term for 3 years. You didn't take no applications. And were any of these? So this has just got one, or did everybody just have a closed session meeting and you just appointed your one friends and associates, and that's what you did? You didn't have any other people apply for any of this? This is just out of control. No wonder there's so much suicidal behavior in this community. That's exactly what. Just remember, the person that was sitting in that chair was John Kivala, which.
Your Honor, I believe that this individual is out of order.
No, it's not out of order,
This is
because
extreme
the
behavior.
lawyer determined that it is out of order not to have Robert's Rules of Order, page 366, line 8, is such that you can't have any
We are
discussion
going to
before there's
require you
a.
to step down from the podium, sir.
What's that?
We were going to require you to step down from the podium, sir.
For what? For what?
Being out of order.
I'm out of order under what? Oh, okay, I guess. See you in court.
Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
I'd just really like to sincerely thank all of you for approving this project to move forward. We're super excited to get started with it, so we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
Tom Ralsey, 1307 Picnic Rocks Drive. I just want to appreciate the city's work to recognize the work of the police department. I've only lived here for 3 years, but they have my full admiration and support. I think they do a fabulous job, so thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
So Matt Ludenberger, 1406 Garfield Ave, City of Marquette. I was reviewing what I said before, and I'm sorry if this comes off as train of thought, but in no way did I want to violate any federal law about age discrimination. Please, that's not what I meant. What I mean is there's a philosophy of ideas. The younger you are, the more accepting you are of progressive or new or unheard of or undetermined outcomes. In that sense, I encourage City of Marquette to be more foresight with. And that's my clarification of that. So beyond that, I wanted to say that the piers that went in are very nice. I went down there last weekend, watched the whole laser light show. Really impressed with them. If many of you remember, I've been an advocate for not putting in the piers, but I'm glad that you saved the old historical piers. If there's any way you can put a new sign down on those oar-docks that explains how long those Spears Pier have been in place, it's kind of helpful. I do acknowledge, though, that it does get snow covered, and you can't just push that right off into this water. I don't know what the rules are anymore, but please don't put salt down there. Please do your best to keep it shoveled. If that means hiring a new maintenance crew to go down just for the piers, please consider that. Please make it a profession. On another note, though, you approved a trailhead down there. And my concern is the same concern I had when we put in the piers. There doesn't seem to be a lot of parking in this area. So if we are a trailhead and I am coming in from out of town, where do I park to utilize the trailhead? I mean, that spot on top of the hill has probably 6 spaces. And if we're including ADA accessible, that means at least 4 ADA accessible spaces, which leaves very little for bikes and for kayaks and for whatever else we're using that trailhead for. Not to say you don't put the trailhead in, I'm just asking for a more defined, more definitive place dedicated to using Lakeshore Drive, using the whole park system and trailhead system that we are creating. By all means, at the same time, the trailhead that's going to be done at Tourist Park or the North Trail, No Cayman on Network, again, great, please put them in. One request, just one final request. Better maps, and I mean maps here while you're talking about it. I don't know where Spring Street is. Where's this Habitat of Humanity house going? Is it going to go on top of where the ice rink is? Is it going on the other side of the hospital? Again, we don't know if you don't have visuals. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
Margaret Brum, 404 East Magnetic Street, and I owe this one to Commissioner Bonsall. Several years ago, when Commissioner Bonsall was first elected to the commission for reasons that were valid and justified, he had to miss a meeting, and I called him out for that in front of the commission, saying that it was important that if you wanted to be a commissioner and you got elected as a commissioner, that you show up. And tonight, I will make notice in the record that our new mayor, Cody Mayor, is not present. I cannot draw the attention of the commission to the fact that Evan Bonsall missed a meeting without also causing attention to the commission that Mayor missed a meeting brand new in his tenure. And I say this because I believe this very strongly. I wouldn't pick on Commissioner Bonsall. I would say it to everyone that in my reality, missing a meeting is unproductive. And I say that based on 35 years of corporate life. And yes, there's always reasons. I understand there's always reasons. 2 weeks ago, I had my first meeting at the Board of Light and Power. And that morning, my dog and I were attacked by a vicious dog. And I hit the pavement very hard and suffered severe injuries to my left rib cage. And I made the meeting that night, not because I'm a martyr, but because I wanted that seat very badly, and I was elected, and I showed up. That doesn't mean I'm a martyr. It just means I feel strongly about this, and like I said, I owe this one to Commissioner Bonsall. I want it to be fair to everyone. Secondly, to anyone doing public comment who dares to bring up someone's name who is no longer present on this earth and use that to make a point, I would recommend you that civility and manners get you a lot farther in life than making cheap shots about people who are no longer here to defend yourself. And that if you want people to listen to you, whisper rather than talk slowly rather than talk fast, don't mumble under your breath, speak softly so people can hear you, and try to make 3 points rather than multiple points while you're talking. And I'm saying that because I really don't appreciate some of the public comment I heard that brought up the member of a deceased member of our community who deserves better than to be used as an example for someone during public comment. So that's my comment. I don't usually speak this harshly, but I heard too much tonight. And as I said, please make whatever effort you can possibly make to get to the meeting, because people notice when you're not there. And that's just a fact of life. Thank you very much for your patience. And again, Commissioner Bonsall, I wasn't picking on you, okay? It wasn't personal. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the commission? Anyone? Hearing and seeing no one, I will close public comment and we will move to commissioners' comments. And let's start with Commissioner Hanley tonight.
Thank you. First, I would like to address Margaret's comment about Cody not being here. I tried to leave him some personal grace by saying he could not be here. The mayor has COVID, so he cannot be here at this meeting. I would like to make that public record so everyone knows he is here because he cannot legally be here. Now to talk about more things that I would like to talk about. First things first, next meeting we get to make a very, very important decision. I would say, other than choosing the city manager that we got to do when I was on this commission, appointing someone to this board is probably one of the most important things that I will do. I have been taking this very seriously and reading all resumes that have been put forth to me, but I would like to put out a call to any public member who would like to talk to me about what they think about the people who have applied, to reach out to me and let me know how they feel. I don't think that this should be taken on just by the 6 of us that are on the commission. I think the public should have a say in this, and I do encourage anyone that wants to reach out to me in this next week to talk to me about what you think of the candidates or any questions. And I do encourage you all to reach out to the candidates. Their information is all on their applications. You can email them, you can call them, and ask them the questions you may have. I think it's an important part of the process to know who's applying for these positions. When I first tried to get on the commission, it was by applying for a seat that was open, when Angela Renzer stepped down, and then I ran afterwards after I was not appointed. I encourage everyone that is applying as well, that next year, come November, and I'm saying this knowing that I am up for re-election, that I encourage you that if you're willing to apply for a seat, you should be willing to run for a seat. I think it's very important that if you think you deserve to be on this commission, that you should be also willing to do the work to let yourself be publicly voted in. It's something that's very important to me. When I applied, that was a question that was posed to me by Commissioner Bonsall. His first thing when I talked to him was, if you don't get appointed, will you run? And I think it's a very important thing to know, that you'd be willing to put yourself out for the public to decide. So I encourage every candidate that is on that list that hasn't done that already, or even if they have, to do it again, that they be willing to run come November. Other than that, I'm very excited about the Beacon House project going forward. I would like to point out it is not on top of the ice rinks. It is the property directly next to the Beacon House. Or sorry, and I said Beacon House project, Habitat project, but it's directly next to it. It is not on the opposite side of the road. I had a couple people who were part of Snowberry come to me and question whether or not they were going to lose their walking area, and they are not. So other than that, I am good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanley. Commissioner Smith.
Good meeting tonight. Thank you to Pro Tem Davis for running a meeting on the fly, as was stated. Our mayor was not able to be here tonight, but I appreciate the way you were able to step in and help out. With the upcoming weather, I just wanted to say thank you in advance to our DPW crew. I know that they're likely going to be out there plowing at all hours of the night. We got a picture in our email recently of one of the blades under the plow, and I know we've talked about this before, but every time they run those things for a shift, the metal is half gone on those. So, thank you for your patience as we work through some budgetary issues there, but also try to keep the roads clear. I've actually heard some positive news about the recycling recently, so I hope that keeps rolling here with those big blue carts. And I think today's meeting was really a good example of a variety of things that we do here in city government, right? We've got appointments to various boards. We had a great presentation from our DDA, some minor housekeeping things, but then we also got to do some exciting things with a new grant application for a park, a labor contract. We've got affordable housing on the docket finally, a big bond here with our solid handling. So this is what we do here in government. It's not just maybe the stuff that hits the headlines, but it's kind of this day-to-day, and I know our staff is working hard behind the scenes to make sure this all happens, so thank you all.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Well, certainly, I think Commissioner Smith hit it with a good, productive meeting of lots of things that certainly are to the benefit of the citizens of Marquette. Commissioner Bonzol had made a comment, I think, a little bit ago about having to meet again about affordable housing and to do so quickly. I would certainly counsel that we not do that, because I think that we have to look at some things that are hanging out there that will come home to roost. For example, we need to be able to work with the county report that we know is due out for fairly soon. We don't do things individually, we do things in cooperation with, for example, the county. I think we need to do that. We certainly need to wait for clarification for funding coming out of Lansing. We're expecting major changes occurring there, as well as in Washington. So we need to have a full toolbox in front of us before we take any more steps. And if that takes us 6 months to get the toolbox, we get the toolbox, we do the job the right way. Otherwise, what ends up is just a long meeting of everybody moaning about things, but we don't have the wherewithal or the ability to change them. We have to wait till we have the change capability to be able, I think, to be effectively using our time. So that's my 10 cents on that. Otherwise, thank you, Your Honor, for our good meeting.
Thank you. Commissioner Bonzol?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. And I also want to thank you for running a very efficient meeting on kind of short notice here, procedurally challenging at times, but we powered through it nonetheless, so thank you. I was very excited to see the commission unanimously support this intent to sell resolution for 600 West Spring Street, bringing 8 affordable homes to our downtown area. It's a walkable area. It's like a block away from a grocery store. There's sidewalks in the area, and especially with the challenges imposed by the site, being very small, only about 3/4 of an acre. It's not accessible from 7th Street. I'm really glad that we were able to work through those challenges and I think come up with a project proposal from Habitat that's going to be a very big kind of impetus or spark for future things that can happen in our community as well. But I also think it's important that we not lose sight of the fact that although this is, only 8 units, it's 8 units that will be occupied by 8 families, right? Some of them may have children. None of them in the current market would be able to live in our community without these homes being built. There will be community support for it. There will be a little bit of tax revenue and, a one-time little jolt of revenue from the property sale as well. So there's so many different reasons to be enthusiastic about this project. I was very happy to see so many community organizations come together in support of this proposal, which really did just kind of come out of a discussion that we had at a commission meeting several months ago, and here we are with an actual project in front of us. By the same token, I think that, I understand the desire to have a full toolbox, but I think that one thing that's become clear over the last couple of years and through this project in particular is that we have a lot of tools at our disposal right now. This project is housing now, as Commissioner Hanley said, and we need housing now. We really need it yesterday. And just looking back at some of the notes and the information that was presented to the commission in June at our work session on housing, we were presented with 4 city-owned properties that were potentially developable, not being used for anything else. 600 West Spring Street was one of them. It was the smallest one by quite a bit. And we moved forward and got a productive, beneficial project with a great developer, great community partner in just a handful of months on that parcel. So I think this is an example of how quickly we can move to address this extremely urgent issue in our community if we want to. It's our choice. It's our choice. Those of us sitting up here. Just looking at these other properties, the 3 other properties that were recommended for higher density, affordable or mixed income housing development by city staff back in June. If you total up the acreage, now, granted this is very back of the envelope, but not all this property is likely to be developable, but it comes out to around 20 acres. Say if even only half of that acreage is developable. If we were to get this just the same density we got with this Habitat project, which is around 10 units per acre, we'd be looking at around 100 new units of housing that could be built on those properties. Now, we might say, well, these are very small properties. Why would we worry about this? Shouldn't we chase a larger project? Larger projects are likely to take several years, a lot of time, a lot of effort. And it's not clear that we have a large property where such a high impact, extremely high impact kind of development could take place. Of course, we got the old hospital redevelopment, which hopefully will bear fruit with some workforce housing there. But beyond that, we don't have a clear immediate path forward for building on this progress that we made tonight. So my proposal would be, and I know that the mayor is not here, and it's ultimately his call, but I would ask the mayor to seriously consider holding a special meeting of the city commission to first of all, receive an update from city staff on our ongoing efforts with regards to housing, and then also consider potential future action similar to what we took tonight on these other 3 properties that were recommended by staff in that June work session, and potentially other properties that staff may have identified as being developable and conducive to higher density, affordable housing in the meantime. So that would be my request, my recommendation. I think it's entirely reasonable, and this is great progress tonight, but it is absolutely not a reason for us to rest on our laurels and say we've checked that box for the next year. Let's keep moving forward.
I have just a few comments. First, I want to wish our mayor, Cody Mayor, a quick recovery, and I can tell you that it was very difficult for him to not be here tonight at his first full meeting as mayor, and I'm sure he's probably watching from home. So best of health to you, Mayor. Thank you to our city staff and our police officers police staff who were in negotiations for the most recent contract. I know it was a very difficult contract, and I know the work that goes into that. So thank you very much for coming to a resolution. And finally, I am very excited about the Habitat property and the potential for what's happening with that for housing. I was at the last, Ms. Johnson, I don't know if you don't call it an open house, you call it a house opening? Dedication. It was very, very emotional to watch that family come into that home and how the neighbors welcomed that mother and 2 sons, and it was a very nice home, and for a very reasonable price for them and able to afford it. So I'm very much looking forward to this, and actually I will take you up on that offer to pound a nail or 2. So when you get started, please let me know. Thank you. And city manager comments.
Thank you. I'm actually going to ask there we go. I'm actually going to show you that email that we were talking about, that picture. So what you see on the screen here is the steel blade that actually goes on the underbody of that plow that scrapes that surface. And so what you're seeing here is a brand new piece and then another piece that is used after 8 hours. So look at how much wear and tear that is. And by the way, a quick learning point for me when I arrived here was those plows run all day long, all night long, all day long. So this gets used, gone through pretty quickly. And the cost of steel right now and the cost of these materials continue to increase. And at this point, we are saying that this piece right here costs more than the plow driver driving that truck right now. So when we talk about the future of plowing and the routes that we take, we are going to be double checking, triple checking on making sure we are running efficiently and going through as effectively and efficiently as possible. So when we do have those parking bans, which is pesky and is really hard and difficult as they can be, especially as we get more snow, we can run safely during those evening hours, but we can also run efficiently. So we are going through maybe with a couple of passes versus many more passes because we had to come back due to a car or some other obstacle in the way. So just do our really hardworking plow drivers and public works employees from behind the scenes to in front of in the plow in the front seat. Please really give them some grace, some space. They do have to. They do drive at a certain speed safely in order to move that heavy snow, which is what I hear is coming this week. They do have to move in a certain way in order to get that snow moved safely and efficiently and effectively. So give them a little space, give them a little grace, and maybe give them a wave or two when you see them. So speaking of snowplow, if you attended the holiday parade, you probably saw the city plow decorated. The Grinch present plow was out. And I do not see any presents that they had been able to gather that were missed. So this plow was decorated by a couple of our very own dedicated, hardworking, creative employees and city staff. So many kudos and many thanks to city staff Ann Cook and Melissa Urkla, who decorated the floats for the past 5 years, but then also they passed along the torch this current year, and the plow this year was decorated by Mike Scholand, who's a supervisor in facilities and maintenance division, and Ross Johnson, who is our Finnish carpenter in the facilities and maintenance division, who really continued this tradition, and I will say it was a big success. They had some big shoes to fill, but they managed to pull that off, and they look like they had fun doing it too. So thank you so much to city staff that made that possible. It was really went far. And lastly, I just want to remind everybody that we do have community office hours, so please visit me, stop by community office hours on Wednesday, December 14th, 10 a.m. to noon at the Peter White Public Library. It's a great chance to kind of just have a cup of coffee, have an informal conversation. You can ask some of the big questions, little questions, anything. Just please feel free to stop by. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager, and that concludes our meeting at 7:51 p.m.